the X.
Not that X.
That's the one.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ritual Chamber. I am Josh the God Butcher. This is Jeff the God of Thunder, and today we're going to be giving our thoughts and opinions on Thor: Love and Thunder.
Woohoo!
So why don't you go ahead and start us off with the synopsis?
That was a
here.
great intro. I love it.
You like that one?
I'm loving it.
All right.
2 years after leaving Earth and joining the Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor has lost the weight he gained during the blip, but has been struggling to find his new purpose. As distress signals from across the galaxy warn of the God Butcher, a killer wielding a weapon capable of killing a god, Thor must leave the Guardians and return to New Asgard to protect his people, where he discovers Jane Foster has become the mighty Thor. Along with Valkyrie and Korg, Thor and Jane set off to face Gorr the God Butcher before he completes his mission of eradicating all gods.
Yes, very well said, and a very good summation of this movie.
Pretty much.
So as we get into this, I'm gonna say the title for this movie really should have been Thor: Love and Blunder, because this movie overall just did really not do it for me. I'm gonna be honest.
This is the most disappointing MCU film I've seen.
Okay, I'm actually surprised because I didn't think you were going to agree with me on this,
No,
and so I'm actually very shocked that we are sitting here right now, and that you are saying this because I felt the same way.
I'm so disappointed, it could be because I did have very good high expectations. I thought it was going to be great. Ragnarok, though it took a minute to grow on me, is one of my favorite of the entire MCU films now. But yeah, it was just not it wasn't what I was expecting, and certainly did not live up to my expectations in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I think one thing for me that initially when I was seeing this movie, one thing that really threw me off was the pace. The pace of this movie happened very fast. It was almost like I felt like watching the Teen Titans cartoon episode, or more so even the first hour of this movie, watching a recap of all the events that had previously happened. Like everything that led up to really
done really sloppily as well.
Yeah,
having Korg. Yeah, sure, it's funny having Korg tell these kids the story of the Space Viking. That's funny. You don't do it 3-4 times.
Yeah,
and it did the biggest disservice, and we'll get into it, but it was a huge disservice to the villain of the story, which is a very, very interesting character in comics, and really Christian Bale and his portrayal, while he wasn't terrible as Gorr, but the way he was introduced was the wrong route.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and with the pace. Obviously, before we dive more into the characters, like one thing that I particularly wasn't really fond of was this idea of how because Jane Foster's been in 2 MCU movies or two.
Well, two. If you count it Endgame, because there was stock footage or reused footage from Thor. I know.
Yeah, so 2.
And then some images in Avengers.
So.
That's splitting hairs.
Yeah, but this idea of just throwing it in, no, this is what happened over this whole course of time that Jane Foster was out of the MCU, and then even just again with the pace, her kind of now she's the mighty Thor, everything just
moved paced very poorly,
so fast in this movie, and then when it gets to the climax of the movie is when I felt like it slowed down, it found its footing, it started to redeem itself a little bit, but for me, just not enough to really, for me to really enjoy this movie, I feel like,
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's enjoyable parts, and there's enjoyable characters, and the pace is a huge problem. It's just the way this told the story. They did a lot of exposition dumping on things that could have been 1 to 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Or in certain cases, and let's just get in characters now, and like I was mentioning, Gorr is the biggest missed opportunity in this movie.
100%.
Like just
absolutely.
So
Couldn't agree with you more.
Gorr in the comics is such a strong-tempered. He's a Nietzschean character.
Yeah.
He's
nice
following a doctrine that he believes because of how the gods have failed him.
Yeah.
And this one, because it starts off with his story and a very limited version of it.
Yes.
It cheapens it a lot.
It does. It absolutely does.
In fact, and it's funny because going through here, there's a good movie in here. Taika Waititi just couldn't find it. I think Taika Waititi was focusing on the comedy way too much, and not that Gore is not comedic. I mean, he has one comedic part when he's doing the little puppet show for the kids.
Yeah,
but it's creepy.
Yeah,
and it's meant to be creepy, and it's supposed to be, and that plays. That's like one of the best scenes with Gore.
Yeah,
and there's about like only two or three of them.
And so, but see, here's the thing, though. I disagree with your overall feeling of Gore. I actually thought in my opinion, he was really the saving grace for this movie. I thought Christian Bale did a fantastic job. Maybe not super comic book accurate in regards to the portrayal, but I thought that the portrayal that he did was very good.
His portrayal was great. It was the things about his motivations, and really fleshing that stuff out, and because it's a very interesting story. It's a very interesting question to ask an audience.
Yeah,
especially in times that we live in real life. Like, how would you feel if this was your mission? And his mission's never properly explained.
Yeah.
Whereas
absolutely.
in the comics, it's I mean, we've read comics. The comics, that's his mission, and it's actually a very personal mission when it comes to his dealings with Thor and his interactions with Thor.
But I thought overall for his character, I know a lot of people.
He did fine.
We're also harping on the character's look. I thought it was. I liked it. I liked the way that they made him look. You can't always make everything look super comic book accurate. I thought the depiction that they made of him was really good. I also liked kind of.
And Taika Waititi had a good reason. He didn't want to look like Lord Voldemort.
Yeah, and I think even like the stylization with like how his character moved, how his character fought. Those kind of things were pretty unique. He was a little, almost like inexperienced, but experienced enough.
He was fighting with passion.
Yes, and I that's what I think really like gravitated me towards his character and just the overall depiction of him in this movie. And again, I mean, one thing we talked about this prior to this movie because unfortunately, when they introduced most villains in MCU movies, they become just a one-off, one and done in movies. And I think it's very unfortunate that not only did they waste Christian Bale's talent to have him be a one-off villain done from the MCU, but they completely underutilized him in this movie, in my opinion.
Definitely, 100%. I agree that they underutilized him. I wildly disagree with, because it's a dumb complaint. One-off villains in film, you have to do it in films. You can't keep villains around in films. Film needs conclusion. Comics can go on for 30 years, and that's why you can keep those
100%.
And also in comics, whether you kill a villain off or not, they can come back. Like, it doesn't matter. There's all kinds of contrived ways. But anyways, that's a stupid complaint. And I fucking hate it. I'm so fucking tired of that. Marvel has a villain problem. No, they don't. These are films. They're not like, even though it's serialized. What do I want to call it? Sequence of films. This isn't comic books. We can't keep actors around.
But
you can't keep.
But there are certain ones that you can. Thanos has been in multiple.
He was in 2. Well, technically 3. Guardians of the Galaxy's in for 1 minute.
Just saying.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
he could have been in one more.
But but then again, Gore was a one-off villain in the comics. He had one storyline.
It is true, but
so I mean that's kind of what I'm saying. Like that's a look. Yes, where Christian Bale is wasted is their depiction of Gore and how he should have been done better. But he's great. Christian Bale's great as Gore. He's great in the
absolutely.
role. And that Marvel has a villain problem is so stupid. It's so stupid and just done by whiny crybabies who go, oh, well, why do you have to die at the end? Because fucking films need to have a fucking resolution. and villains need to die at the end. That's how stories go.
I think he could have also used a little bit more screen time, though.
Oh, 100%.
Because honestly,
Yeah,
I mean, he needed more screen time than the recap of this movie to get to the
three to four times.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just getting off of Gore. So I mean, after Gore, we have to do the titular character. So that's how you use that word. Thor. I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and I want him to continue doing that role, which he will.
Yeah. Obviously.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Thor is coming back.
But Taika Waititi needs to give up the reins a little bit. Here's my thing. So yeah, in the first 2 Thor movies and Avengers, and even Avengers Infinity War, he's still very
brooding.
Not brooding. He's regal. He's a fucking prince.
Yeah.
He speaks a little bit more, I wouldn't say exactly eloquently, and there are the jokes of the fish out of the water, kind of him not understanding certain idioms and and references that the Avengers make. Ragnarok, when it became a little bit more jokey, it made sense. It made sense because of the fact that he's spent a lot of time with the Avengers and on Earth and with Jane, assumedly.
Yeah.
Because that part, it's all assumed. Yeah. But we get a really annoying backstory to that, which we'll touch on. And in this, he's just stupid.
Yeah.
And I can get that maybe because, he did spend 5 years, he did spend time during the blip, probably just drinking, just playing video games, and not adventuring, not fighting, not doing anything, hence why he got, big, and clearly depressed. So I get that, but that doesn't turn you stupid.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's just dumb. He doesn't understand anything anybody's telling him. At any time.
And one thing I felt about this movie, especially when it came to Thor, in his character and the way that they portrayed his character in this film, it was almost like doing a parody of a Thor film.
Yeah.
His character was a parody of Thor.
Yeah.
In a movie starring Thor, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, doing a parody of himself. Yeah. It was just kind of it was just silly to me, and I think I understand that Marvel is going to do their comedic things. That's a staple in their films, and it's something that I actually look forward to because a lot of times it can be well timed, sometimes it can't. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Whatever. This, I'm going to say 75% of this did not work for me.
Yeah, no, 75% of the jokes didn't land,
and I was just
they weren't funny.
I was just sitting there I was honestly confused for a point to where I almost thought that I walked into the wrong movie. I was like,
no, for sure.
I was like, what is this, like a fan film or I was really confused by it.
They weren't funny. Again, and it shows in the trailer of Star-Lord telling him go look at the people you love. That was funny in the trailer. However, in context with everything else that he's saying to him and Thor's reactions to everything, it becomes not funny.
Yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't.
And we'll talk about that when we go into themes. But another thing that annoyed me about Thor is his new suit. I know this is stupid, and I've harped on it before about Spider-Man's suit, when it changes his suit in No Way Home for no reason.
Yeah.
In this one, he literally changes his suit for no reason whatsoever. Just lightning flash, and he has this new Jack Kirby-esque suit, which I have said before, and I'll say it again. As much as I respect and love Jack Kirby for his
contributions.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I was having difficulty with that. Contributions to comics and art. I'm not a huge fan. Not a huge fan of that art style. Especially in this when it gets it's gold and blue
and some red in there.
Yeah,
and
it's
black.
just it's ugly. Hey, first of all, it's ugly as shit.
Yeah.
And then second of all, it's there for no reason. The helmet, which is god awful ugly. He puts on a helmet for no reason out of nowhere. Again, this is why it pissed me off. I was like, they did that for toys. They did that for toys,
so they could sell one with the helmet on.
Yeah, for sure. And the helmet was stupid, and he wears it for 5 seconds.
Yeah, only to take it off because he's claustrophobic
or
whatever he feels.
And it was funny because that the reason I bring that up, it's not so much that it pissed me off just because it's they clearly did that for marketing, toys, things like that. What it did was like the one really good, or what should have been a really good dramatic sequence, is ruined because Jane's talking to an action figure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, it didn't look good. It didn't look natural. Like the thing of the MCU, like throughout all the films, and this is why how disappointed I am, and like it's literally so far in my mind is the worst of all the MCU films.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more.
And because of that, and because it literally like the costume design throughout all films, they were always practical, made sense, comic book accurate as much as they could be, but that could exist in the real world. This was an action figure.
Yeah.
So you have Thor talking to Jane, who, let's get into it, is dying of cancer.
Yeah.
And what you have is literally a fucking action figure standing there talking to a dying cancer patient.
Yeah.
And that being like, that's a perfect time to transition into Jane.
Yeah. So Jane, for me,
before my head literally explodes over how stupid the fucking Thor costume was.
So Natalie Portman, right, comes back, plays Jane Foster. I'm gonna say this: kudos to her for
putting aside her freaking malice.
Well, but also just the physical shape that she was in. I was very impressed by how her physical shape for this movie was honestly really impressive.
Her physical shape is always pretty impressive. Big Natalie Portman fan.
I didn't like her in this movie at all. I thought she was super annoying. I thought her character was super annoying. We have Thor who's already at this point in this movie pretty much fucking annoyed me, and we're about a half an hour into it, and then we get the mighty Thor, who is equally as annoying. So now we have two of them.
Yeah.
In this movie,
I will say not as bad. I think she played it. She played it fine, and her being kind of an idiot about it, because her being an idiot is more about her being new, being a superhero. So that I get. Like the whole thing about the slogans or the slogans, the catchphrases.
But again, just to me, dumb, outplaced. There was no really need for it in the movie, and I think that.
Well, and again, a lot of things she said they didn't make sense. They weren't funny. Again,
it just was. It just so now you have two of them, and I was just. I mean, honestly. I'm gonna be honest saying this is the first time I've ever said this. I was exhausted watching this movie, and that was like, this was like, I remember looking and being like, what fucking time is it? Like, when are we gonna get to the climax of this? When am I expecting this to end? And I was really at this point just sitting, waiting for the end credit scenes. But again, like I will say it was good to see Natalie Portman reprise the role. I felt that the way that they portrayed Jane Foster in this was pretty comic book accurate. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that I did actually appreciate when it came to her character, but that was pretty much about it for me.
Yeah. Anyone else want to really touch on? I mean, Tessa Thompson's great. I think she's quite honestly the star of the movie in that she's there and she's great. Like she doesn't miss a beat. Everything she says, her jokes do land. I like Tessa Thompson. I think she's fucking adorable.
I thought Korg again.
I could go without fucking Korg.
I could go without Korg too, to be honest. I think at this point
that was my biggest. Like, just a real quick sort of aside. That was my biggest thing with Ragnarok. Like, Korg just annoyed the shit out of me.
And in Ragnarok, I thought it. There were times where he did. There were times where he didn't, where I thought the comedic timing was good. In this one, I just got a little tired of it.
Yeah. Well, again, because Ragnarok, the comedic timing is good.
Yeah. This one, it falls flat. So it falls flat. So I think the only other characters that I really want to get into is obviously the Rams. I can't remember what their actual names are.
Goats.
The goats. Yeah.
Those aren't characters.
They're characters in the comic.
I know.
Comics actually have names. I don't know if they alluded to the names.
They ruined those.
But fuck, those were fucking annoying. Because every time I felt like there was a good scene, you just hear, and then and I was just like, come on, like just
one thing that I did laugh really hard at. I'm sorry, I did laugh really hard when they crash into the planet.
That was the most annoying one to me. Really? I was like, "Fuck, dude, really?"
Well, because I didn't see it coming.
Yeah,
I totally didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
because we're gonna paint a word picture for you. So that it's them flying at a planet, and you think the planet it's gonna then cut to them like landing safely. No, the planet's much closer, and they just crash, and you hear bah!
And it's like the planet's like the size of what's that?
It's like a small moon.
Like the Boy on the Moon. You know, remember that book?
Oh, The Little Prince.
The Little Prince. Yeah, about the same size.
Yeah, totally.
Accurate depiction. And then I think the last one I would like to touch on, Russell Crowe as Zeus.
You mean Bo-Rat?
Yeah.
Bo-Rat in Zeus' garb, like oh god.
Hey, you cannot come into my seat.
I mean,
again, in my opinion,
that's my harem.
Yeah, in this movie, you have two Oscar award-winning actors in Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, completely underutilized, completely wasted in this movie.
Okay.
And
let's be fair. Let's be fair. Christian Bale's underutilized, but at least he did a good job.
He did.
Russell
Crowe did not.
What in the hell
yes,
are you doing?
I don't know what the point of that was.
Like, okay, I get the point of that scene. Like the gods are no one really worships us anymore the way they did.
Yeah,
so I get that, and that we're that's gonna get into like kind of a bigger overarching problem with this movie and why so much of it didn't work is it's the ideology of Gore and where he's coming from and where his mission really starts out, how he's gotten to this point, his feelings towards the gods and clearly the gods' feelings towards men and whatever, because that I think that would have been could have been a better scene, as so many, like, again, there's a better movie in here.
In this movie, absolutely.
Had they stretched out some ideas instead of focusing on jokes and
Yes.
focusing on like quick little quips. Quips I'm always good with. These weren't even quips; they were just dumb jokes, like a dumb setup and a punchline that didn't land.
I mean, it was literally an Adam Sandler movie with superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, basically. So since the movie starts out with Gore's backstory of him being lost in a desert with his daughter and stumbling, his daughter dies and he stumbles upon an oasis and the god he's been worshiping is there just mocking him.
Yeah.
That would have been way better done in a sort of flashback later on in the movie after Thor and him had met like twice.
Yeah, I agree.
Much in the kin do like Ultron, like having an actual thesis to your mission. And because even then it's sort of like played for laughs, like the god just being a dick.
Yeah.
And
mocking him.
Yeah, mocking him. And then that could have saved this part where they're at what is the Eternal City?
Yeah.
With Zeus and all these other gods like Bastion's
Omnipotent City.
Yeah, Omnipotent City. And really hammered home to Thor that, oh crap, maybe Gore's right a little bit.
Yeah,
but there's so many deep themes with Gore as a character and what they're dealing with in this movie with the gods being sort of ambivalent and apathetic towards someone coming to kill them, like they're just planning an orgy.
Yeah, and also kind of and another thing in what you said with that too is alluding to this fact of lesser gods. When Zeus says, "Oh, they're lesser gods. Who cares? They don't matter. It's not us." You know what I mean? And yeah, you're right. There is a theme that could have been explored there, that could have been fleshed out a lot better. Where this movie kind of just put it out there and then just trampled all over it. Like it was kind of like in the Kobe wastebasket. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, like the ball is right there. And that's like, had they gone the route, in my mind, the way they should have gone with this, it could have been a fucking award-winning film.
Yeah,
because you could have gone with deep themes and really, this could have been the way for Thor to find his purpose again. Maybe make people. I don't say make people believe in gods again, but act as a god for people and like. And like that's what I mean. Like there's so little morsels in there that are like that can be picked up and really chomped on. The other annoying theme in this film was the theme of love.
Yes, I mean that was Love and Thunder. It's in the name. You knew it was coming. Hey.
And like obviously they were gonna be like the Love and Thunder is about Jane Foster and Thor reconnecting, but. there's so much there that they is. I mean, we talked about the flashbacks and like the 10-minute long rom-com that plays out between Thor and Jane,
and
that could have been solved in 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, and honestly, with that too,
okay. She's an astrophysicist. She's busy doing science stuff. He's an Avenger and a fucking Norse god who probably only pops into Earth to see her every now and again. They weren't living together, living this normal life, which was what this movie tries to show.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they were living together, living this normal life.
And it does this thing that I think is kind of similar to what happened with the Batman, where it forces this idea of this love story down your throat so that you care about these characters reconnecting or finding love in the end. Where really, to me, it just felt lazy, forced, rushed, and I actually didn't care about it at all. I cared more about Thor's, at the end, obviously the climax of this movie, Thor being able to take care of Gore's kid than I did about him caring about Jane and his.
Here's a little here's a little lesson about English literature. There's something called subtext, and you know where you got that from? Thor's line in Endgame where he says, "Oh, Jane and I aren't even dating anymore." That's called subtext. Clearly, he's still been holding on feelings for her. You didn't need this dumb Korg telling the story of them dating as if it was a real, as if it was Fever Pitch.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, any other. Insert rom-com here. That's what this was, but in like a 10-minute condensed version.
Yeah.
And it wasted time.
It wasted time.
It didn't fit the tone of the film at all.
Absolutely.
And I get why they did it. Taika Waititi did it as a fun joke because rom-coms. It didn't play. It didn't work. It didn't even work. It didn't even work in the story because, again, Thor even says, and this is in the trailer too, that it's been 8 years since they've been together.
Yeah, 8 years, something amount of time, and so many days.
And sure, they've been holding out feelings for each other. And in fact, that's another thing about the tone and the pacing. Kind of just quick jumping back. That's how Jane should have got Mjolnir back. She should have gone to Asgard, maybe to say goodbye to Thor. That would have been a lot more powerful.
That would have been
or just
true,
to see him one more time, or let him know. But no, she sees a book about Viking mythology, and then Mjolnir calls out to her.
And again, obviously,
there's so much stupidity.
Going back to the pace, that just happens so fast, and then you just come in and she's the mighty Thor.
Yeah, she's the mighty Thor.
And
she's the mighty Thor, and Valkyrie knows. Oh, and they've bonded. Valkyrie have bonded, but you never see that on camera. They're just suddenly friends.
And the tone for this movie to me was just out the gate comedic, and what I hate about that, when you just set this tone of heavy comedy in movies like this, there is no real imminent sense of danger, real threat that I ever felt from Gore or anything that happened in this movie, because the tone was so heavy set on comedy. And I like Taika Waititi. I really do. I love what we do in the shadows, but I agree with you in this case that I just don't think...
I love Free Guy.
I haven't seen it yet, so I just don't think that this is the right realm for him right now. And especially after this release, I really would be sad to see him do another Thor film. So
he's got a lot of work to do to regain his good graces with me. Okay, and one last thing on the themes, or the theme and the tone. And this is about tone and the theme of love. The weird way they handled Mjolnir and Stormbreaker as an ex and a new lover. It was so bizarre.
It was very strange.
And kind of uncomfortable.
Although, I will say, when Thor gives Stormbreaker
a drink,
his first beer, it was pretty funny. I laughed.
But it was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? There were some funny comedic moments with that, like when the Stormbreaker comes floating in and turns. That actually made me laugh. But it was cringy, and it was just so weird. And again, that made me laugh, but I did not like it. I did not like.
Yeah, I found those scenes to be very awkward too, as a kind of these claiming of objects as if they were
lovers,
like jilted lovers or something.
Yeah.
It was a really weird.
And I think even at one point Thor even says, the old ex-hammer.
Yeah. It just was kind of weird.
What the hell? And I get it. They were leaning on the love part of the story.
Yes.
As and again, themes that could have been done better and like not land the theme as a joke.
Yeah.
Like that could have been a good theme of like I don't know about, and especially this goes into Gore and his love for his family and stuff like that, and then the love that humans once had for gods, and now they don't have it, so gods want love for humans. Like there's deep themes here that are just thrown away for laughs. You know? It's so frustrating because, like I said earlier, there's an award-winning film here.
Yeah, no,
like,
absolutely.
It's just nothing is aligning the way it should align.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the end, when we get to the end of the movie, obviously, Love, Gore's kid,
that they name Love because of.
Yeah, because essentially that's what they're going to go with here. That's what the whole movie was about. But I thought that the ending of the movie had a strong ending sequence only within those last couple of
last
minutes.
I would say the last 20 minutes to half hour was very strong. Once they go to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, was very strong and
a really cool color palette being black and white, but then the thunder being blue, Zeus's lightning bolt being yellow.
Yeah, and being able to see those colors out inside that realm.
Really and then Gore's eyes and stuff.
Yeah, so it was. But again, a lot of wasted opportunity here. I mean, realistically. So I think with that, should we go ahead and get into the monkeys?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna give. Oh man, so I was all over the place as I was watching this movie last night. I had so many mixed emotions on realistically what I was going to give this movie.
You wanted to walk out.
I did. We off screen. First 45 minutes of this movie, I literally thought I was watching a fan film. I was really confused. I'm going to give Thor: Love and Thunder a 6 out of 12. This movie it did not hit for me at all. It was not very thunderous, if you will. I do have to say, I really like Taika Waititi. Like, I love What We Do in the Shadows. It's one of my favorite shows. I like what he's capable of doing, but it didn't translate well in this movie. It really just didn't for me. And when it came to the pace, and just it was too much comedy. I understand that Marvel movies, that they need that comedy here, and I know that with Thor, they've kind of tried to take him away from this, like you said, serious, regal, more type of character that has dealt with a lot of loss and a lot of pain, and kind of separate him from that to make him a different character. But it didn't resonate with me, and I just didn't overall enjoy it. One thing I will say when it came to it, one thing that I did like about this movie, because I'm such a GNR fan, I definitely love the score. Sweet Child of Mine. We had November Rain, Welcome to the Jungle. I loved seeing it in the movies. I thought it worked in the scenes that they had it in, so I enjoyed that. And then again, one thing that you touched to, the Shadow Realm, I really loved the way that as soon as they crossed into that realm, like the palette of the colors and how they changed and how certain things stood out.
Yeah.
I thought was very well done as far as like the cinematography for this movie. But again, 6 out of 12. This movie just was a blunder.
I'm gonna go lower than that.
Wow. I'm honestly surprised about this.
I'm straight up gonna go 4 out of 12. I may reappraise it when it comes on Disney Plus and watch it. Who knows? I might then like it. But on a first viewing, there's just so much I didn't like. I put my thumbs down to the GNR stuff, not because I hate GNR, but god damn it, if I hear Welcome to the Jungle one more time in my life, I'm going to explode.
On an island, still listen to it.
And you know what? This movie tried my patience with that because they play it 17 times.
Loved it every time.
And then Sweet Child of Mine, and you know, yeah, like there's just the pacing is terrible. The constant use of Korg telling these stories, taking 10 minutes to tell these stories that could have been told in 2 minutes of dialogue or 2 lines of dialogue even. Gore being wildly underutilized. I mean, even to the ending when Thor stops Gore from making his wish with Eternity, which we hardly even touched on, that he goes to see Eternity, the Marvel Comics character that's like a big fucking deal, and it's so moot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like at the end, you have Thor trying to convince Gore, knowing that he's lost the battle because Jane is dying, but him trying to convince Gore that you never wanted to kill the gods, you just wanted to be with your daughter again, even though he's about to die anyway.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense because they hadn't had that interaction. And again, that's kind of what I said earlier about Gore and Thor needing to have almost a meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
And that way make the themes really the strong point in this movie, not dumb jokes.
Yeah.
That aren't funny, don't land, and are just too much, like, there's just so much bad with this movie. Like, so much bad. Yeah, so I have 4 out of 12, and like, this is the most disappointed I've been in an MCU film.
Absolutely.
And even to the other ones that people say that movie's bad, no, you're wrong. Like, this movie's... I'm going to stop myself from saying the word awful, but it's...
So, I think before we wrap it up, too, one thing that we haven't touched on, and we probably should, obviously the end credit scenes. So, we do have... the introduction of Hercules. Mm-hmm. We found out that Zeus lives. Unfortunately. But we have to see more Russell Crowe.
Hopefully not.
But we do get the introduction of Hercules, which I think will be kind of a nice setup for, depending on whoever's going to direct the next Thor movie or how they're going to introduce Hercules. Yeah. And then we obviously have Jane Foster being welcomed into Valhalla, which I thought was kind of a cool scene. But again, I don't know how I feel about Jane Foster overall.
I think that's going to end up being just sort of a fun little send-off for Heimdall and Jane Foster.
From the MCU.
Yeah, Natalie Portman and Idris Elba. Because both of them have been vocal in the past about them not being exactly pleased with being in the MCU. And... I think it was a nice little send-off. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're going to see them again. I mean, I know in the comics, Jane Foster does end up becoming a Valkyrie.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
If anything, they might recast her to bring in a new Valkyrie. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah.
Doubtful. Just throwing that out there. That I think that's all that was. It was there for a neat little send-off, and that was it. I don't think Natalie Portman is going to do this movie and then come back to... because I like the director this time.
I felt that it was a send-off for her character as well. I mean, all I want to say is at the end of the day, I want to see some better Ray Bill. You know what I mean? You hear me?
Yeah.
Well, with that being said...
Who do you think we'll see first, Mephisto or Better Ray Bill?
Ooh, shit. Good question.
They've both been teased like several times. So,
Mephisto. Well, with that being said, everyone, we really hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Tell us your thoughts about how you felt about Thor, Love and Thunder, or as I would say, Thor, Love and Blunder.
You already made that joke.
Well,
off with his head!
I look like babushka.
Babushka. My babushka.
My babushka.
Hey.
I think I should just go with the original. Hey everybody, welcome back to the fucking bitch.
Welcome back to the fucking bitch.
I know, because I have something funny that I'm going to say. And I was getting ahead of myself. All right. 3.
We're just going to go right there.
Because the intro is good.
Yeah, we're not changing that intro one bit.
Right.
That was perfect. That was the fucking flawless victory.
I had a feeling you would like that.
Oh, yeah,
so
no, that was great. That was great.
All right.
All right.
Into other characters. One thing that I really found was interesting about characters in this movie. Why are all the Asgardians, do they all have Australian accents? I just always as I was watching this movie, I just kind of found it interesting. You know, Tessa Thompson reprises her role as Valkyrie. And I guess I never really noticed it that much in the other Thor movies, but you know, she really sounds Australian, and so do most of the Asgardians. And I'm a little confused by that because
the Nordic accent, the Norwegian accent, is kind of hard to do.
But so make them sound Australian? Like, I'm just saying. That's just all I'm saying. Whatever. We can move on to another character.
It's like every goddamn.
I'm just saying.
It's like Clash of the Titans. Everyone was British. Like there's. I don't. Whatever. That's a stupid.
And I'm just
cutting that.
Why are we cutting that? It's a valid argument. She's in the movie for like 50% of the fucking movie.
But Chris Hemsworth is Australian too,
and he doesn't sound fucking Australian.
Yeah, he does. Well, he sounds like a fucking idiot. Is what he sounds like.
But he doesn't sound as much. He doesn't sound as Australian as Tessa Thompson does. She's from Santa Monica, California.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Thank you.
I didn't know that.
So validation?
I guess. Yeah, sure. I guess this isn't mean cut. This will all be here. And then. All right. So after Gwar.
Woo!